They told me pain will make you small. They told me grief will flatten you until you're a shadow of yourself. For a while, that felt true. I let it happen. I let the hurt fold me in half and keep me quiet. But pain can also sharpen you. It can focus every thought into a single clear purpose. This is not a story about fireworks or dramatic chases. It's not a movie where someone bursts through a door and everything explodes. This is how I took what was left of my dignity and used it to reclaim my life. It's a story of quiet, precise revenge, the kind that doesn't break the law or break bones, but breaks illusions. My name is David. I was married for 7 years. I believed once that marriage was an anchor. It turned out to be a mirror that hid a different reflection. Her name was Emily. People would say we were a good-looking couple, polite, predictable, the kind of pair of friends invited to barbecues. She could be luminous in a room. Her laugh would make you feel like everything was all right. It's a strange thing how the qualities you loved in someone become the instruments that wound you when those qualities serve a different purpose. The affair started like a slow leak. An open message left on the nightstand. A call she took in the bathroom. A small defensiveness when I asked where she had been. I let myself believe for a long time that I was paranoid. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted the easy life of not asking questions. Then I found a message. Not a big dramatic reveal, just a line I didn't expect to see from my wife. Her name paired with another man's. A heart, a joke that wasn't ours. When it happened, the world did not explode. It contracted. The air around me felt thin. I asked her about it that night. There were tears, apologies, promises. She swore it would stop. We tried to stitch things back together during the quarantine months. We made coffee together. We argued about what to watch. We slept in the same bed and pretended the same rhythm meant reconciliation. When the outside world reopened, so did the old patterns. Old habits are stubborn things. A year later, we took a trip to Hawaii, a bright, postcard place for a reset. The kind of trip you tell yourself will fix things because the ocean is big, and maybe big things make small problems feel less sharp. On the second night, I used her phone to upload a vaccine passport. It was a mundane task. Her trust in me to do that small thing felt ordinary. I didn't plan to look for trouble. I didn't plan anything. I opened the messages to find the code and saw threads that were intimate in ways that were not innocent. Photos, jokes, plans. Hidden messages. Deleted threads that left a breadcrumb trail. The revelation was clinical. It didn't come with the melodrama people expect. I did something simple. I deleted the thread. I blocked his number. It was pragmatic rather than petty. In that moment, it felt like closing a window in a house where there had been a draft for years. I could have confronted her in a hotel room, made a scene, and watched the trip dissolve into glass. I chose a different path. I wanted evidence. I wanted to watch how she behaved when she didn't have that lifeline. The next 24 hours were a study in human instinct. She became small around me, jittery, glancing at her phone, short replies, exaggerated cheerfulness. She tried to perform normalcy like an actor in a rehearsal where they don't know the lines. I played along. I smiled. I packed my bag. I watched her unravel while the sun made the water in the bay sparkle. That is the first taste of what I mean by slow, realistic revenge. The power of knowledge without immediate confrontation. It was not cruel in a violent way. It was correcting the imbalance she had created. She had been living with a secret advantage, and I took it away. We flew home in silence. On the plane, she stared out the window and bit at her lip. You could see the alarms going off behind her eyes. She did not know what I knew, but she felt the shape of the danger. When we got home, I constructed a plan. I did not want to be a man who flared and faded, who made a scene and then regretted it. I wanted something clean. I wanted the truth to stand on its own. So I spent 3 days collecting facts, screenshots, email threads, old photos, times and places where her stories didn't add up. I learned how to find deleted messages and backups. It's not hard if you are methodical and you keep your anger in check long enough to think like an investigator instead of a victim. I should say this plainly. None of what I did was illegal. I did not hack anything. I did not create false evidence. I merely found what she left lying around and preserved it. That distinction matters. Revenge that crosses the line becomes a crime. Revenge that stays on your side of the line is a restoration of balance. When I sat her down to talk, I did not shout. I placed the phone on the table between us and slid a printout across the wood. Timestamps, screenshots, a map of meetings. I told her, I know who he is, what you did, and how long it's been going on. My voice was flat, even. I wanted the facts to do the work, not my theatrics. She cried. She begged. She apologized. She said she had been lonely, that she wasn't thinking, that she didn't mean to hurt me. I listened. I let her words unravel. Then I told her what I would do. I was leaving. I had called a lawyer. I had a plan to separate our finances and separate our lives. I would not make a public spectacle. I would not revenge himself into ruin. I would reclaim my dignity and my future. In the past, revenge was often painted as a desire for public humiliation. I didn't want that. I wanted quiet closure, the kind that burns out the stale sparks and leaves the air clear. Leavings are heavy. Packing a bag is an act that changes you. When I carried my things to the car, I felt like a man who had been excavating himself. There was relief, yes, but also a raw grief for the life we had built, for the shared jokes and the mornings, for the years that could not be rewound. But there was also a steady, fierce pride. I had not let my anger destroy my life or theirs. I had not allowed the betrayal to become an excuse for my own self-destruction. After I left, she called. She texted. She showed up at the apartment once, uninvited, asking me to come back, to forgive, to try couples therapy. I had compassion for her. Instead of answering her pleas with drama, I used paperwork in process. I scheduled a consultation with a divorce attorney, straightforward and clean. I closed joint accounts and moved money to protect us both from impulsive decisions. I made sure everything would be handled properly. And then I turned attention to the narrative part of revenge that mattered most to me, rebuilding. Revenge doesn't have to be the destruction of another person. It can be the reconstruction of yourself. I started therapy. I went to the gym. I took long runs at dawn and let the city wake up while I breathed. I found parts of myself that had been dormant beneath the daily grind, hobbies, old friends, ideas I had shelved when marriage felt like the center of my universe. It surprised me how much of the revenge could be positive. While she was trying to patch the hole she had made, I was building a new life that had no space for her betrayals. When she texted pleading messages, I'd already been to a climbing gym and met new people. I had new routines. My days were not empty. They were full of self-respect. There came a point when I realized the sweetest part of my revenge wasn't humiliation. It was indifference. The first time I felt true indifference was months after the divorce papers were signed. She had tried to contact me, sent 2 emails, begging for a meeting. I glanced at them once, closed the laptop, and kept walking. It wasn't cold. It was a sign that her power over me had evaporated. But I didn't stop at indifference. There was one more step I took that felt objectively, like the exact closure I'd wanted. I told the truth, precisely and calmly, to the people who needed to know, family, a few close friends, and, because this is the world we live in, the workplace where her affair had been centered. I did not shout from the rooftops. I didn't post fiery statuses. I crafted a statement, honest and measured, and I shared it privately with those who deserved to hear it. Why the workplace? Because she had built a double life in part at work. I wasn't trying to humiliate her for sport. I was holding her accountable for the consequences of choices that had spilled into a shared environment. I sent an email to HR with the facts, dates, evidence, and asked that they'd handle their internal conflicts according to policy. It was a grown-up thing to do. I didn't want rumors or whispers to be the currency of truth. The fallout was not spectacular. People were surprised. Some were angry. Some felt betrayed on my behalf. Others kept their distance. But that was fine. The aim wasn't theatrical victory. It was truth acknowledged. During the hearings for the divorce, I remained composed. The lawyer asked the right questions and helped me protect what mattered. We split assets fairly, not because I wanted vindication, but because fairness is a form of dignity. There were moments when the old pain returned, sharp and immediate. Grief is not linear. You can be fine for weeks and then hear our song on the radio and feel 1,000 needles prick through your chest. When that happened, I allowed myself to feel. I sat with the hurt, and then I put it down, like an object you set aside after examining it. The most surprising part of the entire process was learning how to be openly, sincerely happy for myself again. That first Saturday morning when I woke up alone in a small apartment that felt like mine, not ours, I brewed coffee and sat on the balcony while the sun came up. There was no triumphant music, no dramatic montage. There was the simple pleasure of a cup of coffee and a quiet house. I realized then that I had taken my life back. Part of my revenge was also letting her encounter the consequences of her own choices without me manufacturing drama. People who cheat often rely on the cushion of others to catch them. I removed the cushion. She lost certain friends. She had to answer to colleagues. Her closest confidant at work, the man she had been seeing, faced his own repercussions. I didn't gloat about any of it. I reported facts. I stepped away. What followed was a natural consequence of the decisions they had made. One evening, not long after everything had settled, I saw her across town at a small coffee shop. She didn't see me at first. She looked smaller than I'd remembered. That moment could have been a cinematic reunion or a scene of vindictive closure. Instead, I walked past. I nodded once to myself and kept going. That single step, to move on without spectacle, felt like the last page of a long, thorny chapter. There's an important lesson I want you to take from this. Revenge isn't an instinct you should let drive you. It's not a scorecard. It's a choice you can shape. You can choose chaos and regret, or you can choose clarity and dignity. When someone steals from you, whether it's trust, time, or honesty, the healthiest revenge is often a quiet one. Restore your boundaries, protect your life, and build something that the betrayal cannot touch. I learned how to sleep again. I learned how to trust quietly and slowly. I learned that some people are lessons, not lifelong partners. And I learned that the most satisfying kind of revenge is the one that leaves you intact. Not ruined, not into someone you won't recognize a year. Months later, a mutual friend asked me how I felt about the whole thing. My answer was honest and short. I feel relieved. I feel stronger. I feel like I got my life back. That was a victory, not their shame, not their downfall, my recovery. If you are listening because you believe you are a victim of infidelity, Here's what I want you to know. You do not have to perform outrage. You do not have to enact a revenge that destroys you more than it does them. Collect facts. Protect yourself. Take the legal steps that preserve your future. And after that, prioritize your recovery. That is the kind of payback that lasts. One last thing, and this is the part that stayed with me. The sweetest moment was not watching her suffer. It was the morning I realized I could make plans that did not include her. I planned a trip with friends. I started a project I'd postponed for years. I dated clumsily and sometimes awkwardly, and each small interaction taught me I was whole enough to love again when I was ready. Revenge can be a sorrowful teacher or a refining one. For me, it became the latter. I did not set out to humiliate. I set out to be honest with myself and with the people around me. I found a quiet, lawful way to hold her accountable. And in doing so, I rebuilt a life that was mine again,